In Chapter 3, we are going to be studying financial mathematics. So we're going to look at things like how to save money, because there's actually lots of ways to do that. Lots of ways you can set up your savings account. We're going to look at how you would pay off a debt, so like your credit card debt, or how you would pay off your student loan in a certain amount of time, or if you bought a car or a house, how you would calculate your monthly payment. We're even going to go as far as, looking at how you would save for retirement. And then once you do retire, how that money is paid out to you, like on a monthly basis, for example. So there's a whole lot of real world applications to your life. I find this entire chapter very useful. I use it in my own life. For example, when I bought my house, I knew what the mortgage payment was going to be before, the bank or whoever told me. It's very, very helpful. You might use it the next time you buy a car. Okay. So this is something that you can really, really relate to. Okay. There are 4 sections in this chapter. 3.1 is going to talk about simple interest. That is very much tied to loans. There are simple interest loans. This is probably the simplest section of all 4. In 3.2, we're going to jump to compound interest, and that can be applied to either loans or a savings account. So we're going to talk about that. Another way to save money is through an annuity. So we're going to look at the future value of an annuity in section 3.3. And then when we roll around to section 3.4, we're going to look at something called the present value of an annuity. That's something like life insurance. So like if you get a life insurance policy, and then unfortunately if you had to use a life insurance policy, like how that would be paid out. We're also going to look at amortization in section 3.4. That is paying off a debt. Okay, so there's all kinds of topics, and I want to tell you up front, when you have a test on this material, it is going to be all word problems. Okay, these real world applications or situations, you are going to have to figure out what kind of problem it is and how to solve it. Okay, which formula applies. You will be given a formula sheet. We will discuss through each section, when you use each type of formula and how you work with the formula. Okay, the formulas start off very simple and they build up to something very complicated. Okay, but all of these I will work with you, show you how to use them, what to plug in for what, and actually how to get a dollars and cents answer out of your calculator. Okay, so like I said, we are going to start off in section 3.1, which is simple interest. There's some terminology at the top, but before we go over that, I want to jump down to the middle of the page, and I want to talk about 2 topics that you're going to need throughout this entire chapter, okay? And those 2 things are converting between percents and decimals, okay? Your formulas are going to involve interest rates, okay? We all have heard of an interest rate. So when you are given the problem, you are usually going to be given the interest rate as a percentage, and to use it in the formula, you're going to have to convert it to a decimal. Okay, and then on the flip side, you might be given a problem where you're asked to solve for the interest rate, and in your final answer, you'll have to convert it back to a percentage. So you have to know how to go between percents and decimals. So we're going to talk about that. And then the other thing you will need to be able to do throughout this chapter is time will be involved a lot. Okay, so you might be, making a loan, like a student loan. You might borrow money for 5 years or something. And your money's your debt's going to accrue interest, and then when it comes time to pay off the loan, you've got to figure out how much to pay back, things like that. All of these problems are going to involve time, like you're borrowing the money for so much time, or you're saving money for so much time. All the formulas will involve a time value. When you plug in your time, it has to be plugged in as a year. And what happens here in a lot of these problems, the time may not be presented in years. It may be presented in months, days, weeks, quarters, or a combination of these things like years and months. So you're going to have to know what number do I use for time. So those are the two things we're going to start off doing, okay? Converting between percents and decimals, and then converting various time periods to years, okay? So let's talk about the first thing, okay? This is at the middle and bottom of page 1 on the section 3.1 notes. So to convert a percent to a decimal, you are going to drop the percent sign and move the decimal point 2 places to the left, okay? That is the rule. Drop the percent sign and move the decimal point 2 places to the left. So in example 1, we're going to write each percent as a decimal. All right, so when you see part A, 4.35%, okay, first thing we're going to do is drop the percent sign, okay? Decimal is understood to be right there, okay? And then you're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the left, okay? And you're going to go ahead and fill in that extra space with a 0. Okay, so let me use a different color here. So this decimal is going to be 0.0435. Okay, if you want to put a 0 in front of the decimal point, you can. It is not a requirement. So you could do this if you wanted to. Okay, so that is that percentage as a decimal. Okay, in part B, okay, 0.36%. So we're going to drop the decimal point, or sorry, drop the percent sign. And then we're going to take our decimal point, which is right here, move it 2 places to the left. Okay, and so fill in any empty space with a 0. So this is going to be 0.0036. And that's all there is to this. Okay, I'm actually going to give you one more. I'm going to write it over here. Okay, what if you just saw something like, I don't know, 6%? Okay, something like this, you don't physically see the decimal point, okay? But remember, the decimal point is understood to be right there, okay, behind the 6. So if you drop the percent sign and you move the decimal point 2 places to the left, okay, this is going to end up being 0.06. Okay, so don't forget about that if the decimal point is not physically present. Okay, all right, so now on the flip side, okay, we're going to talk about converting a decimal to a percent. To do that, you're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, so you're going in the opposite direction, and then you're going to tack on a percent sign. Okay, so in example 2, we're going to take each decimal that we're given and write it as a percent. Okay, so for this first guy, part A, 0.137, okay, you're going to take your decimal point, you're going to go 2 places to the right, okay, so this is going to be 13.7, tack on your percent sign, so that's what you got, okay, 13.7%. All right, part B, 0.085, all right, I'm going to go ahead and write that out again, okay, here's the decimal point. We need to move it 2 places to the right. Okay, so we're going to end up with, you can drop these extra zeros in front. This is going to be 8.5. Tack on a percent sign. So this will be 8.5%. Okay. All right, so that's going to, you're going to have to do this for every single problem. Okay, convert between percents and decimals. Most of the time, like I said, you will be converting from a percent to a decimal, but there may be times where you have to do the flip. All right, next topic. Okay, like I said, this is just stuff you need to know to do all the financial problems.